If there is one truth about the Il Volo boys, it's that their voices became famous and not their hearts. Their hearts stayed tender, open, and soft. Every time they came home, each of them carried silence inside. Tonight's episode is about that silence. It's about returning to Rome, returning to Abruzzo, and returning to Sicily. It's about what happens after the last note fades and the crowd goes home. The flight from Madrid landed just after sunset. They had been awake for almost 19 hours. 2 shows, 1 flight, and that strange emptiness that always swallows a singer after giving too much of himself on stage. Piero stepped off first, Gianluca followed, and Ignazio came last, dragging a suitcase so worn it looked like it had toured more countries than most people will ever see. They didn't talk much. Home is different for each of them. And tonight, we follow each one separately. Piero's chapter carries the weight of stillness. People mistake Piero for the strong one, the steady one, the one who never breaks. The truth is, strength has a lonely side, and Piero knows loneliness better than people think. When he returns to Italy, he always feels the shift from constant noise to absolute stillness. The world goes silent, and sometimes silence is louder than applause. The drive to Naro is long enough for thoughts to rise that he pushed down during tour. He watches the countryside blur past the window, olive trees moving like prayers in the wind, while that little ache in his chest returns. Am I giving enough to my family? Do they miss me more than they say? Will I ever get to live a life that is mine? These are questions he never speaks out, because the world expects him to be made of iron. Piero loves home with a ferocity that frightens him, and also reminds him of everything he sacrifices to stand under bright lights. When he reaches Naro, his father meets him at the door, sometimes his mother. No cameras, no noise, just a strong hug that lasts a little longer than usual. And for the first time in days, Piero breathes. Not the shallow breath he takes between stages. Not the tired breath he takes in hotel rooms. He takes the kind that fills your chest and reminds you that you're not just a voice, you're someone's son. He sleeps early that night in the same room he grew up in. The posters are gone, but the shadows are the same. The feeling is the same, and as he drifts off, he whispers to the dark, "It's good to be home." Gianluca's chapter. He's the boy who never fully left Abruzzo. Gianluca's return is quieter. He doesn't rush. He doesn't run. He sinks into Abruzzo the way a stone would sink into water. Slowly, but completely. People think Gianluca loves the spotlight. They think he loves the cameras, the attention, and being adored. But what he truly loves is belonging in Abruzzo, the only place that reminds him what belonging feels like. When he arrives, the air smells different, cleaner, softer, and like childhood. He walks through the town without drawing attention. Everyone knows him, but they've learned to love him quietly. A nod here, a smile there, a bentornato Gianlu. It's not fame, it's affection, and he lives for that. When he stops by his grandmother's house, she makes coffee the way only grandmothers can. They sit at the small wooden table where he once did homework as a boy, and she asks about tour, about food, about whether he's eating enough, about whether he's resting. Somewhere between her questions and his careful answers, something deeper sits unspoken. Gianluca is tired, not physically, but emotionally. Tour life demands pieces of him he never fully gets back. Every smile, every handshake, every note sung with more emotion than he has left. And Abruzzo gives those pieces back. He walks later that evening through the narrow streets, with hands in his pockets and listening to the sound of his own footsteps. He remembers being 16, being discovered, being overwhelmed. There's a moment he sits on a bench near the old church and closes his eyes and just breathes. Because here, nobody needs his voice. Nobody needs his charm. Nobody needs him to be Gianluca from Il Volo. Here in Abruzzo, he can just be the boy who grew up on these stones, the boy who never truly left. Ignazio's chapter carries laughter with holes in it. Ignazio returns to Bologna differently. He arrives like a storm that tries very hard to pretend it's just a breeze. People see Igna and think, that one is fine. That one is happy. He is the joke, the light, the comic relief, the boy who laughs because life is easier when you're the sunshine. But what fans don't know is this. Ignazio's laughter has holes in it. Holes carved by years of grief, pressure, insecurity, and the heavy responsibility of being the funny one. Because the funny one is rarely asked if he's okay. When he gets home, the first thing he does is drop his bags on the floor and collapse onto his couch. Arms stretched like he's trying to hug the whole room. He whispers, finally, not to the room, but to life. His house smells familiar. Guitar strings, coffee, a hint of perfume from a memory he hasn't touched in months. He walks to the balcony, leans over the railing, and lets the Bologna wind slap his face awake. And suddenly, the weight of everything he hides comes rushing in. Tour loneliness, long flights, and the hotel rooms that sometimes feel like prisons. There were nights he cried quietly, because exhaustion hits hardest when the world thinks you're fine. Ignazio feels deeply, painfully, and wildly, but he only shows the world joy. Tonight, he allows himself to be human, to feel the ache, to name the emptiness, to release the pressure. He takes his guitar out, sits cross-legged on the floor, and plays softly. Not for fans, not for cameras, not for applause, but for himself. For the boy inside him who never asked for fame, but grew into it anyway. He sings a single verse, a verse meant only for the walls that raised him. Home is where I don't have to be anything. And his voice cracks beautifully. The stillness that binds them. 3 boys, 3 cities, 3 returns. And yet the same truth threads through all of them. Home reminds them who they were before the world decided who they should be. Piero finds strength. Gianluca finds belonging. Ignazio finds himself. But the night ends the same way for all 3, alone in their rooms, comforted by the stillness and terrified of it at the same time, because they know that soon the stillness will fade. The lights will call them back, and the world will want their voices again, which will make them leave home behind. But for now, for one quiet night, they are just boys. Boys with soft hearts, big dreams, and a world that has no idea of how much they carry.